start, right? First, how you doing today, Michaela?
I am doing well. How are
That's
you?
real good. My name is Tyreek, the co-host of Tyreek's Business. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Thank you for accepting me to interview as a candidate.
You're welcome. All right, so let's start off with the first question. Can you give me any time where you had some experience with leading a team of representatives?
Absolutely. Some of the experience I have leading a team of representatives, I actually support about 15 to 20 agents as I led as a supervisor at a contact center. And during that time, I basically held them accountable to their performance, made sure they understood the goals, set expectations on how to meet those goals. I also did some coaching and development time with those agents as well.
Okay, and would you say that was mostly from home or in the office?
It's actually a mix of both. So originally it was in the office setting, and with the change, of course, with COVID, that actually diverted to fully remote. But I would still make office visits about um, 2 times a month. But
Okay,
most of the agents are remote now.
okay. Okay, so for this next question, can you describe a strategy you could put in a workplace for customers or for making operations smoother?
Absolutely. So one of the strategies that I actually worked on recently was a strategy where we wanted to be able what we call close the loop with customers who may have completed a survey and were not happy with our service. So instead of us just taking that feedback, although they already completed the survey and it dropped our what we call our NPS, our Net Promoter Score, although it already dropped that, we still wanted to reach out to the customer because most of our referrals, I'm sorry, most of our value, our revenue comes from referrals. So we want to make sure we continue to establish a loyal relationship with those customers. And instead of just, putting those detractors behind us, I actually developed a closed the loop team where they would review a lot of those surveys and they would reach out to those customers to see if there was anything we can do to, continue to support them or win them back, win their loyalty back and establish a good relationship again.
Okay, that's real good. Have you ever did any type of work relating to any type of technology, something of that sort?
Um, Not necessarily like hands-on do the work,
Mhm.
but I was involved in what we call user acceptance testing, UAT, which I partner a lot with our IT team, especially because their work impacts my work. So with that, it basically they identify an issue a lot of times. Sometimes it's just a process within our customer account management system. And just partnering with them, helping them set up the pilot for it, and revealing results of that pilot, and basically helping to form the change management and what is needed to actually implement that new technology process.
Okay. Okay, so for this one, I want you to describe an example where you had to deal with complex situation involving a customer.
Hmm. Oh, that happens a lot.
Mhm.
There was actually one very recently where we have it was actually an agent who reached out to me to get support on our issue they were having with their product. And but the issue, I knew what the issue was, and I knew the customer would not like the answer because there basically was no solve for the answer. It was a very, very new issue that we was aware was happening, and we did not have a solve for. So it was more of me communicating the right thing to the customer so they understood that we don't have a solve, but we're confident that we'll find a solve and also giving options on what they can do until we find that solve. So that was a very recent interaction that I had with the customer, and it really just involved communicating the right thing, explaining the why behind the issue, as well as providing the an expectation of when they can expect it to be resolved. And also, like I said, giving them an option of like, well, while we're waiting, we can do this and you'll still be able to use your product.
Okay. Have you ever handled managing a budget for a contact center or negotiated an agreement with a supplier?
Yes, I have. I currently support the budget for operations for a contact center. Um, and I actually do that cross-functionally with our vendor relationship manager who handles like the offshore budgets of our offshore contact centers. A part of that comes just kind of analyzing the work, making sure that we meet budget, and also coming up with ideas on if we're over budget, how do we kind of draw back and meet our goal by the end of the month or quarter, whatever the fiscal year calls for, and not do that actively.
Okay, so for this one, it's a little bit of a scenario based. So
Okay.
imagine if you are a leader, right?
hmm
How can you make sure to motivate your team? So how can you make sure that motivation remains your team?
Um, to make sure if I'm a leader of a team, to ensure that I'm motivating them, I will one ask them what they are motivated by, like what inspires them. And then I would try to tie that to the work to say, okay, imagine this is what, this is how one, you get your revenue, you get your paycheck, but also how do we make this exciting for you and meaningful for you? I would also show them how their work impacts the bottom line, how it impacts the business, because it's very hard to see that sometimes as a frontline employee. They think it's just another job, another person, but tying it to like what motivates them and how that motivation ties back to the bottom line and how it impacts the business, I think will be my best way to help motivate a team.
Okay. Okay, so for this last question, what role do data or performance reports have in helping you decide and improving your team's efficiency?
Everything is very important. Everything. I definitely believe in bringing facts. I
Mhm.
have this thing where I say trust but verify. So a lot of the times information is given to you, and sometimes all the facts are not there. And I do trust my team and my partners, but I also like to verify the data behind it so that we can establish a good business case, especially if it's something that we are trying to go after or trying to implement or maybe end if it's a project. I definitely rely on the data and the reporting to tell the story, along with, of course, feedback from people who have maybe using the process or not, and just other ways to create that overall picture to bring people along the journey.
Okay. Well, Michaela, it seems to me that that was the end of the interview. Do you have any questions or feedback about me?
At this time, I do not.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You have a nice day.
You too. Thank you.